What's going on, everybody? I'm back bringing you my first build showcase slash guide for Last Epoch. Um, Showing you guys what I've been up to this season, season 3, Beneath Ancient Skies. If you watched my stream of day 1, you'll know that I was trying to go Lich. I wasn't having fun, so I switched to Warlock for leveling and ended up really liking the playstyle and the build, so I stuck with it all the way through. So I want to show you guys what I was up to. Um, if you want to roll a new character, this could be something fun. I'll start out with the skills here. Our main skills are going to be Chthonic Fissure and Chaos Bolts. We're going to have our Fissure spitting out tons of Chaos Bolts that benefit from the tree, so a lot of our damage comes from these two skills here. I also incorporated Soul Feast into the build, as well as Spirit Plague, for a buttload of energy shield. And then we're using Transplant for mobility. So the big stats that we're going to want to focus on are spell damage, um, necrotic damage, fire damage, and damage over time. Those are the big ones. All of our spells are fire or necrotic, um, with Chaos Bolts and Chthonic Fissure being both. Um, and as far as defenses go, like I said, we're going to have a ton of, I think I said energy shield before, but what I meant to say was ward. I got PoE on the brain. Um, a bunch of ward retention, so all of that juicy ward that we get, we keep. So let me just run through, I guess I'll run through the passive trees I did here first. So we'll start with the Acolyte tree. We have 8 points to Blood Aura here, just getting a ton of damage, 48% damage, 48% mini damage. Obviously the mini damage is not applicable to the build. We don't use minions. We're going to go down here to Forbidden Knowledge, where we get 8 points to Intelligence, and we get 40% Necrotic Resistance. Necrotic Resistance is going to be important, obviously, for the defensive purposes, but also offensively, and you'll see what I mean by that a little later. I put 1 point into Mania of Morality here, really just to get to Unnatural Preservation, to get the 24% ward retention, more necrotic res, and more poison res. And honestly, that's all the points that I put into the Acolyte tree. Really didn't put that many in. A lot of its minions. I'm putting most of my points into the Warlock tree here. So, as you can see here, Spiteful Decay, 5 points. We get 20% increased damage over time, 20 health. And with the 5-point bonus, we deal more damage over time to cursed enemies. As you'll see, our Chthonic Fissures will curse enemies, and our skill itself, Spirit Plague, is also a direct curse. So you're going to see how curse comes into play with this build. Huge. And you'll see it in all aspects, defense and offense. So yeah, this is going to give us 4% more damage over time to cursed enemies. I put 5 points into Chaos Flames. You get 30% increased fire damage, 30% increased ignite chance with fire skills, 30% increased necrotic damage, and 30% dam chance with necrotic spells. Damned is another curse that does more damage and necrotic damage over time. So it just stacks, and then you'll see also that we do damage over time is increased, necrotic damage over time is increased like per uncapped necrotic resistance. So you'll see we have so much uncapped necrotic resistance that it really gets out of control. We're going to put 5 into Soul Stealer, increase mana regen 20%. Mana does become kind of an issue if you don't manage it properly. You can easily end up in a situation where you don't have mana. We mitigate that with some skills on the trees and mana regen, but sometimes if you're spamming Fissure, you're not paying attention, you could quickly run out of mana, and it can be painful. So anyway, 20% mana regen. You can for 5 points, you gain a chance per curse on the enemy to gain mana on hit. So like I said, we're going to be cursing, and not only are we going to be cursing with our own skills, but our skills are going to be applying secondary curses. So we're going to be getting a lot of mana back as well as ward. So that's really where Soul Feast comes into play. And like I said, you'll see that a little bit later on. Anyway, so this gives us a 13% chance per curse to gain mana on hit. And we get 13 mana per hit. 5 into Occultist Mind, plus 5 to Intelligence, and we gain additional mana per point of Intelligence. We have 45 Intelligence right now, so we get a lot of mana from this. We put 3 points into Imperishable, plus 3 to our Vitality, and then from the bonus 3 points we get Ward Decay Threshold per 2% of Necrotic Res. So like I said, that Necrotic Res we want up there. We want all our resistances up there, but specifically Necrotic Res. And we get a lot of Ward Decay Threshold from this. So okay, so after Occultist Mind, we're going to take Ward of Malevolence. You gain additional Ward Decay Threshold, and you gain Ward on Kill. You also gain Ward per 2 points of Intelligence while channeling a skill. We don't channel anything, but we do get 60 ward decay threshold, and we do get 12 ward on every kill. And we get ward per second per intelligence while channeling. If you want to go Ghost Flame, you can with this build. You can swap it in. It does drain mana really quick, but you can see it, does a lot of damage per second if you want to take advantage of the channeling. But I suggest just staying with Chaos Bolts. Come up here and take Imperishable, 3 points into Vitality, and then the bonus gives us more Ward Decay Threshold per Necrotic Res. Like I said, all of our reses need to be up, but Necrotic Res, it's extra important to stack uncapped Necrotic Res with this build. Harrowing Armor, we put 5 points into that to get 50 points of armor and 50 health. The 5-point bonus gives us, you have more armor multiplicative with other modifiers per unique curse on the attacker when they hit you. So again, another benefit of having tons of curses on the enemy gives us more armor. Moving over here to Dark Protections, we put 5 points into this to get 25 ward per second. Just, again, giving us more ward, more defense, more protection. 5 points, you take less damage per unique curse on the target, so another benefit of having more curses on enemies, we take less damage per curse. 2% per curse on target. I put 5 points into Malefic Body, 5 into, you get plus 5 intelligence, plus 5 vitality. 5 into Chaotic Strikes, your hits have a chance to deal double damage. Additionally, your hits have a chance to deal double damage per curse. So again, more curses on enemies, more chance for double damage. Double damage chance plus 5%, double damage chance per curse plus 1%. Oh, didn't mean to do that, sorry. We come down here, and I have 5 points into Chains of Ruin, 5 points into Infernal Lash. So Chains of Ruin, Damn chance plus 65%. Damned, like I said, Damned is a curse. It deals necrotic damage over time. It reduces health regen by 20%, lasts 2.2 seconds, and it can stack an unlimited number of times. So you're going to see we're going to inflict our enemies with a lot of Damned from our skills all the way to our passives. So this says when you cast a necrotic skill and enemies within 15 meters have a combined 20 stacks or more of damned, you chain all damned enemies to the ground for 2 seconds and gain damned overload for 12 seconds. Okay? Damned overload grants you 2% more damned damage to enemies per 1% missing health on you and 1% more damned damage per 2% missing health on the target. So basically, it's just more damage over time, more necrotic damage, and we immobilize. Chained enemies are immobilized and take 40 necrotic damage over 2 seconds with added damage applying at 200% effectiveness. This cannot stack on the same enemy. We put 5 into Chains of Ruin, and we put 5 into Infernal Lash. Now, Infernal Lash increases our Ignite chance. When you cast a fire skill and enemies within 15 meters have a combined 25 or more stacks of Ignite, you strike up to 3 nearby ignited enemies with Flame Whip and gain Ignite Overload. So again, like I said, we want to stack fire damage, we want to stack necrotic damage, Ignite chance and Damn chance we want as well. This will combo into putting 5 points into the Ashen one. Increase necrotic damage 40%. Increase elemental damage 40%. When you gain Ignite Overload or Damned Overload, we're going to have both. All ignited and damned enemies, everything's going to be ignited, everything's going to be damned. Within 15 meters are inflicted with Witchfire for 12 seconds. Witchfire ignites unignite or damned overload. So just more damage over time, more multiplicative, just melting the enemies away. We're also going to put 5 points into Grasping Damnation. So the chains from Chains of Ruin, they last longer. and any additional dam that you inflict lasts longer as well. So like I said, we're going to get damned from other sources as well. That's going to just last longer in addition. Okay, 5-point bonus. While you have damned overload, you have a chance to chain nearby damned enemies to the ground each second. So again, more chain, more immobilization, more damage over time. Right now, I'm working on putting 5 points into Scorched Reach. While this is just increases our flat increase to fire damage, like this is a flat increase to damned duration. I thought it was necrotic damage for a second, but it's not. Okay, so after we put 5 into Grasping Damnation, you're going to put 5 into Scorched Reach, which is what I'm working on right now. 5 points while you have Ignite Overload and you kill an Ignite enemy or hit an Ignite boss or rare enemy, you cast Flame Whip at a nearby enemy. So again, just more multiplicative damage over time, more fire, more necrotic. Eventually we're going to put 4 into this as well. I'm going to go all the way with this to 100, by the way. That's my plan for the season. I'll probably post another update video when I do hit 100. Grinwald's Domain, Witchfire that inflict does more damage. So the Witchfire we get from these two, from being in Ignite Overload and Damned Overload, it increases the damage. So more Witchfire damage per Ignite chance, more Witchfire damage per Dam chance, number of Witchfire spreads within 10 meters, 1. This is obviously going to go up. And then lastly, I came down here, put 2 into Encroaching Darkness. When you directly cast a curse skill, you also afflict a number of enemies around the target location with Anguish. Anguish is a curse that lasts 10 seconds, causes the target to deal 15% less damage over time, and deals necrotic damage to all enemies afflicted with it. Whenever you kill an enemy, it cannot stack. So again, another curse to throw into the pile here. That lets us go over here to Dustbringer, put 3 points into that to get spell damage for curses, plus 9. Hitting a boss or rare enemy now also triggers the damage from Anguish, so more multiplicative damage. This is really helpful for bosses. My plan for the rest, I want to put 4 more points into Scorched Reach to hit the 5-point bonus here, and I want to put another 4 points into Grimwald's Domain to get this up to 5. That's going to be 8 points here. And then I believe, what am I at right now? We're at 81, so we have 19 points. So that gives us 11 more points. So I'm going to put 5 points into Vessels of Chaos here. This is just a flat damage, increased damage over time. And when you hit the 5-point bonus, you deal more damage over time for each active ailment overload, which are these over here. So this is going to be like a really big jump in power when we're in the like corrupted timeline, because right now we're still in the like the regular one. So once we start putting points into this, it's going to be an even crazier damage boost. So that's 4, 8. That is 13, right? Yeah, 13. We'll put another 5 into Malefic Body. It'll be 18, and then I'll have 1 more point left over. I'll probably just throw it into Dustbringer, or maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But basically we want to put 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, and 10 here. And yeah, that's going to be our passive tree. Alright, so next I just want to show you guys the skills that we specialize in. You'll notice a little mismatch here. We do have Rip Blood on the specialization and not on our bar, and that's because we don't actually cast it, but we do benefit from the tree. So we'll start here with our main skill, Chthonic Fissure. What we're going to want to do first is run over here to Chaotic Rupture. The spirits that come out have a chance to be replaced by Chaos Bolts that consume a portion of its mana cost and scales with our Chaos Bolt tree. So this is insane. We cast Chaos Bolts, but mainly we let Chthonic Fissure cast Chaos Bolts. So we're going to put 3 points into that. So yeah, so I started off by putting points into Fragile Crust here. This is going to decrease the cost of Chthonic Fissure. This is really important because it is an expensive skill, and it gives us a chance to refund some of its mana cost if there is a cursed player, rare enemy, or boss within 20 meters. When you cast it, we always have cursed things around us, so this is great. Then I went over to Spirit Gale. When tormented enemies die, they have a chance to release the spirit to inflict torment to another enemy to spread the curse. 2 into Severed Wards here. The spirits hits shred enemy necrotic resistance. I put 4 into Stygian Kern here. I'm probably going to put another point into this to increase the frequency of the spirits actually coming out to inflict those curses. And of Gloom and Flames, Chthonic Fissure now creates a secondary fissure in the opposite direction that casts its own spirits. Enemies can take damage from both fissures if they stand on both, but Chthonic Fissure costs significantly more. So this is really what makes it cost a lot. A lot of these nodes are going to make it cost a lot. But this is a big one. It makes the fissure so much bigger. And with the Sundered's Domain, we can cast 2 with less frequency, but that's why we want to put points into here. I have 2 points into Death from Below, increase the damage, and the effect is doubled if we're cursed. Grasp of the Undying, fissures deal more direct damage for each second it's active, and you leech a portion of the damage it does. So this is nice. It gives us a little bit of healing. 1 point into Eradication. Chthonic Fissure deals more damage to rare enemies and bosses. I am probably going to put another point into this, but I do want to eventually go into here. The spirits hits inflict the enemies with damned. Again, you see how much damage we do to damned. So this is like going to be a huge buff. I might actually put 1 point into this before I max this out. So Eradication is going to deal more damage to rare enemies and bosses. So I have a point to that. Might put another one, but I definitely want to move into this part of the tree at some point. Put more a point into Damned Waters here. The spirits that come out of the fissures hits inflict enemies with damned, so more damned application. As we saw in the passive trees, we do a ton of damage to damned enemies. And Twisted Waves. Torment deals more damage based on your uncapped necrotic resistance. This was the one I was talking about earlier. This is going to be another big power boost jump for us when we get a point into this, because we have 236% uncapped necrotic resistance. That is going to be a big one. So looking to put 2 points into this and then a point into this. Definitely going to take advantage of this. So another good big power spike coming down the road. Again, once I have a level 100, you'll see the full. All right, so we're gonna move over here to Spirit Plague. Spirit Plague is gonna be our main way of applying that curse. We're gonna start by taking Hinder and Affliction. Just enemies afflicted by Spirit Plague are now also slowed. We only take this just so we can move along to here. Enfeeblement. Enemies you inflict with Spirit Plague are also inflicted with Frailty. Frailty reduces damage dealt by 6%, lasts 4 seconds, and stacks up to 3 times, so good little defense there. Then we're going to come over here to Contagion. Spirit Plague is now cast in an area around a target, but it does cost more mana. Not to worry, we're going to get the mana cost down, but this is nice just for area of effect. We want to come down here to Plague of Eye. Spirit Plague has an additional spell necrotic damage for each point of intelligence. So we get spell necrotic damage per intelligence plus 1, intelligence being one of the skills that we want to focus on and stack. We're going to take Plague Burst. You have a chance to spread Spirit Plague when you hit an afflicted enemy. We obviously want this spreading. We want as many enemies to be as cursed as possible. And then we're going to take Putrid Recovery. You gain ward when hitting an enemy afflicted by Spirit Plague up to a limited number of times per second. We're getting 36 ward. 36 ward per hit. So again, we're stacking ward retention, so we're always protected. Another way of doing that. I did take 3 into Hemorrhage here. Just enemies you inflict with Spirit Plague are also inflicted with bleeding, so just a little bit more damage over time. 3 points into Pestilence. You gain increased global damage over time when you inflict an enemy with Spirit Plague. Again, global damage over time being one of our main stats. This effect lasts 4 seconds and can stack up to 13 times. So we're getting 15% increased damage over time from Pestilence. Put 3 points into Officiatious Application. 24% mana efficiency and an increased duration of 36%, so cost less, last longer. And we also are going to put 2 points into Rotten to the Core. Spirit Plague deals more damage, flat damage. Not really anything crazy, but it's nice to have the extra. Alright, so moving over to our second main skill, Chaos Bolts. Chaos Bolts are going to be cast directly from our fissures, and those bolts directly benefit from this tree. So, first thing you're going to want to do is head to this node right here, Exacted Libation. Chaos Bolts hits have a chance per intelligence to cast Rip Blood at target enemies. This effect can occur up a maximum of 2 times per second. Rip Blood chance per 2 intelligence 1%. Maximum Rip Bloods per second 2. This is how we are going to heal ourselves and stay healthy all the time. It's going to be very hard to die with this build if you manage your mana correctly. Rip Blood is amazing. So I start by putting 2 into Abrupt Chaos. Chaos Bolts has increased cast speed and his projectiles travel faster. Put 2 points over here into Pandemonium. Chaos Bolts explosions have a chance to deal damage in a much larger area, so it's going to just cover more of the screen. You're going to see it's explosions everywhere. It's necrotic damage, fire damage, all over the place. I put 1 into Chthonic Aurora. Chaos Bolts release additional projectiles, but it has a higher mana cost. I don't think the higher mana cost is honestly worth it. With the amount of Chaos Bolts that come out of the fissures, like 1 extra projectile is fine. Honestly, you don't even need to put a point into this. You can put it somewhere else if you feel like maybe you want to put more into this, or Doom's Vindication. This gives you more damage and more hit damage to cursed enemies. Like I said, again, everything is going to be cursed. We do want to put 2 into Devour the Damned. Chaos Bolts hits against cursed enemies regain health and mana. So again, everything's cursed. Every hit gives us mana back, gives us health back. So you'll see that it's really easy to regenerate the mana, regenerate the health, but you still do have to be careful. I put 1 point into Cursed Blood. Chaos Bolts hits refreshes the duration of your curses on them and grants you health per curse. So again, the curses, we're just healing and healing and healing and healing and healing. Another Affliction. Chaos Bolts hits against cursed enemies cast Bone Curse at their location. So just another curse, Bone Curse, applies a curse to enemies in the area for 8 seconds that causes physical damage when hit. The damage is tripled if you inflicted the hit. We do always put 2 into Condemned Chaos. Chaos Bolts hits have a chance to inflict enemies with Damned. More damned damage, more damage over time, more necrotic damage over time. Exult in Misery, 2 points. Hit damage to damned enemies 8%, hit damage to ignited 8%, hit damage to bleeding 8%, and frostbitten we don't care about. We don't do frostbitten, but bleeding, ignited, and damn, we do all those status effects. Mania and Flames. Chaos Bolts hits have a chance to ignite enemies, 40% ignite chance. One into a grave for 2. Chaos Bolts deal more damage over time, equal to a portion of your missing health. This one isn't that crazy because we actually are always pretty healthy. But we need to take it so we can come down to the burn. Directly casting Chaos Bolts extends the duration of your Chthonic Fissures and Infernal Shades. We don't use Infernal Shades, but we use Chthonic Fissures. So when we have our Chthonic Fissures down, if we need to cast Chaos Bolts, it's going to extend the duration of those fissures and thus cast more Chaos Bolts, ensuing more chaos. Like I said, Chaos Bolts cast Rip Blood, so we do take the Rip Blood tree, even though it's not on our bar. Transplant is on our bar, but we don't specialize in it because it is just used for traversal and movement. So, Rip Blood, boom, 4 points. Gushing Wound. Rip Blood have a chance to curse enemies to bleed. Bleed chance, 100%. You're going to see Rip Blood going off all the time. We're going to be applying Bleed. We're going to be applying Necrotic damage, Ignite, Damned, just so much damage over time. We're going to put 3 into Splatter. Rip Blood hits have a chance to create a blood splatter at the target, dealing damage to other enemies around it that were not hit by Rip Blood. The effect can occur a limited number of times per cast of Rip Blood, so just more area of effect, more damage. Crimson Flood. Blood splatters deal damage in a larger area. Blood splatter area 75%, so just increasing the size of that. Want to come over here. Honestly, I came this way first. Hemorrhage. Hemomancer. Rip Blood has increased cast speed. We don't really want to take nodes that require us to cast it ourselves. It'll say, like this one, when you directly cast. Don't take any skills that say when you directly cast, because we are not directly casting it. Going to put 4 into Quenching. Blood Orbs grant additional health, and the Blood Orb returns faster. So if you don't know how Rip Blood works, it rips blood out of a target enemy, dealing physical damage to it, and then blood orbs are drawn back to you and they restore health. So obviously we want to increase the amount of healing and the speed that they get to you. So I put 4 into here. I'm going to put a 5th into this as well. We want 1 point into Hematology. Blood Orbs restore more health based on your intelligence stat. Intelligence being one of the stats that we stack. 1 into Mana Feast. Blood Orbs now also grant you mana when you directly cast Rip Blood. Obviously, we don't directly cast, but we do need to take this to get to Coagulation. So this is nice. When a blood orb grants health, you gain a stack of coagulated blood. Upon reaching at least 6 stacks, your next cast of Rip Blood consumes 6 stacks to form a coagulated blood orb. Again, we're not casting it, but we do get this benefit from Chaos Bolts. So you'll see Rip Blood going off, and then you'll see these big blood orbs that um, you know get shot out and deal more damage. And then we put 3 into varicose veins. Coagulated blood deals more damage in a larger area. So again, more area of effect, more damage. And that is going to be the Rip Blood tree. We pretty much pump all of our stats into this only a couple nodes here, mainly because everything else requires us to either have minions or cast it ourselves. The last one, and the one that I actually really like and I use a lot, you'll see as I go through a map, but you'll see that I use Soul Feast more than I probably cast Soul Feast more than I cast Chaos Bolts. And the reason is it's just gives us so much defense. So the way it works is you feast on the souls of your cursed enemies. Again, everything's cursed. Dealing necrotic damage to them, drawing fragments of their souls back to you, and those fragments each grant ward. So more ward, more defense. Um, Again, it's why we stacked ward retention, right? Alright, so the last skill that we specialize in is Soul Feast. Soul Feast is great. You'll see that I use Soul Feast more than I use Chaos Bolts. Pretty much just run around the map, casting Chthonic Fissure, throwing out Spirit Plague, and then spamming Soul Feast. Soul Feast feast on the souls of cursed enemies, dealing necrotic damage to them, and drawing fragments of their souls back to you. The soul fragments for each grant 3 ward when they reach you. Okay, so this is, again, everything's cursed. This lets us suck the life force from those cursed enemies and give us ward. We stack ward retention, more defense, very hard to kill us. 2 points right off the bat into hunger. Increase the cast speed and reduce the cost. Go up here, put 2 points to increase the soul fragment speed that returns to us, and has a chance to grant us haste when they do return to us. Give us a little speed boost. I put 1 into Withering Maw. Soul Feast inflicts a withering on hit and ailment, which increases the curse damage taken. So, like I said, everything's cursed. Withering makes enemies take more damage from curses. So this is a nice thing to apply to enemies as well. Engorged, put 3 points into this. Soul Feast costs less mana and has a chance based on your current mana to draw back greater soul fragments, which grant even more ward. Ward from greater fragments is 90%. Mana cost reduced by 9. This is another big one for getting, that oh so precious defense. Rest, soul fragments from bosses or rare enemies grants significantly more ward, more defense. And Usurp, soul fragments from rare boss enemies also grant you mana. Modifiers to the amount of ward granted by soul fragments also applies to the amount of mana gained from this node. So this is nice. Again, like I said, you may run into mana issues. This is another nice way to mitigate those problems, especially if you're in a boss fight. I put 3 into Soul Seeker. Soul fragments grant additional ward based on your intelligence. We have a ton of intelligence. Another Strife. When Soul Feast hits an enemy cursed with Spirit Plague, Decrepify, marked for death, or penance, we obviously use Spirit Plague, it spreads those curse from that enemy to another number of enemies within 5 meters. Okay, so this just helps spread the curse. These are big ones down here. Bones of the Accursed. For each curse on the target, again, multiple curses on multiple enemies, Soul Feast hits grant more ward and deal more damage. So we're getting more defense and dealing more offense per curse. You guys see why it's important to curse the enemies now? Sharpen Influence. Soul Feast costs less mana and can hit more targets. So this is just more mana efficiency. And this allows us to cast this on more targets at once, ultimately dealing more offense and giving us more defense. As far as the my gear here, we'll start with the idols. I'm using idols that have Ward Decay Threshold, increased damage with Rep Blood, increased damage over time, anything with ward damage over time, anything specialized to his skill, like this is 36% increased damage with with Rip Blood, right? We got ward retention, increased damage over time. You can use these to fill in your resistances. Here we get more damage over time. Spell damage. We actually need to re-roll this one. 2 spell damage while wielding a staff is not applicable to us. But yeah, so basically just look for ward resistance or ward decay threshold, chance to apply curses, damned, cooldown. You know the basics. You can go you can get real wild with the idols. Basically, just I like to use idols to fill in gaps and to boost my main stats. Right, fill in resistances, boost damage over time. For example, for this build, fire, necrotic. Go into the blessings. So as far as our blessings, um, you know, I think these are random as it goes through. I'm not entirely sure how the blessings work, but I have increased gold drop rate, increased offhand catalyst drop rate, increased crit strike chance, increased two-handed staff drop rate. I think this was like this one doesn't really matter, but I had to take it. It was like this or like bows, and like I'm playing a warlock, so. Word per second, this was a good one. 8% increased frick shard drop, that's helpful. 38% increased necrotic resistance, extremely helpful for when we get that node for damned versus uncapped necrotic resistance. That is going to be huge. 52 endurance threshold, and then 32% increased huge idle drop rate, and 11% increased unique drop rate. So yeah, those are my blessings. All right, so the last thing to cover here is going to be our gear. As far as the gear, you're going to want to look for damage over time, spell damage, fire damage, necrotic damage. These are going to be your main offensive stats, and then obviously look for your resistances as needed. Crafting is awesome in this game. You can make some pretty cool items. I've made 2 rings or 1 ring and I believe this helmet. Yes, the helmet and this ring I made. So um, I have this awesome legendary helmet that gives us 1 ward per second per 3% uncapped necrotic resistance. So again, like I said, it's very important with this build to focus on your uncapped necrotic resistance because you get more ward from it. And later on, we're going to get more damage from it. So this is a cool one, 73% increased fire damage, gets good armor, dex, intelligence, some necrotic res. As far as our amulet here, I like this one. It gives us physical and necrotic resistance right as our implicit, so that really helps with our resistances. With our exalted affix being 161% chance to shred armor on hit. But you can see here we have crit strike chance. The big one on this is the damage over time, and we get some physical resistance here. Our body armor. I got a double exalt here, 20 vitality, 85% void res. This pretty much gave us all the void resistance we needed, which was nice. Also some nice elemental resistance, but that 102% chance to apply damned on hit, that's another great one that, you know, as we were going through the skills, you see how much damned comes into play in the build. The sealed affix we don't really care about. Our wand, using spell necrotic damage and increased curse damage, absolutely incredible implicits for our build. Then we get the 147% increased fire damage, 88% increased spell damage, and then the chance to shotgun hit is not important, but the chance to ignite is also nice for the build. This is an almost amazing wand. I am still trying to get a better one, but for what it is and for the build, it's really great. We're using an offhand catalyst, implicits, 10 intelligence, spell critical strike chance, and some ward retention. Again, that precious ward retention. Our exalt, 110% increased damage over time, 53% increased necrotic damage, some fire res, poison res, and a chance to chill attackers is the sealed. Not really a big deal there. Our belt, we have another double exalt, 43% increased mana regeneration, and 23% endurance for a little defense. But again, necrotic damage and physical res. This is also plus 6 potion slots, so that's super nice. This ring is pretty nice when you use a movement or a time travel skill. All stats on this item are tripled for 4 seconds. So when we dodge or when we use transplant, we get a nice little damage boost. 85% increased spell damage, 22% of our mana is spent gained as ward, so more defense, and a nice 69% increase to our overall spell damage. This ring I smashed into a legendary ring and made this bad boy. The throwing damage we can ignore, throwing attack speed we can ignore, critical hit, strike avoidance is nice, dodge rating is nice, void resistance is nice, but it's a 6% increased health and mana, 6% increase I should say to health and mana, 25% increase in 20%, 25% of our mana spent gained as ward, so again more defense, and then another 1 ward gained on hit per 10 missing mana if your current ward is lower than your missing health. So another way of gaining ward in a pinch. Go to our boots here. Exalt is on vitality. Wish we had a movement speed because I am a little slow. 15% increased movement speed in the implicit, but look at that 136 ward decay threshold. That is really nice. Get some elemental resistances and some attunement from this. As far as our bracers, the Exalted is on a 59% critical strike avoidance and dodge rating. Again, a little bit more defense. There's a lot of defensive stats in this build, but it's nice because we can just kind of walk through maps. We don't actually you'll see, we can take a lot of hits. And then lastly, our relic here. I've had this for a long, for most of the leveling. I got this super early in the leveling process, and it's been with me ever since. So 28 gain warned on potion use, and 26% ward retention to protect our nice little ward there. 2 dexterity, 7% increased cold damage, not important, but the elemental resistance is nice, and the 23% chance to apply frailty on hit is also very nice. The +1 to all Acolyte skills is beautiful, and when a nearby enemy or ally dies, you gain ward equal to 2% to 6% of its maximum health up to 3,000 ward. So this helps us get a crazy amount of ward. So it's really hard to kill us. So, alright, so the last thing here, guys, is going to be the loot filter. So the loot filter, I will export the loot filter and leave it in the description. Feel free to tweak it, use it, don't use it. It is very helpful, especially when you're in the end game. You're going to see so much shit on the ground. You're definitely going to want to use it. You're definitely not going to want to sort through everything. So loot filter is in the description for you. And the last thing is I just want to do an echo, show you guys the build in action. Some things to pay attention to. My ward, you'll see we're always going to have ward, and health is always going to be high. Mana, watch the way I manage the mana. Obviously, you got to be careful with the fissures. You don't want to be spamming it because you can quickly run out of mana, right? We can only have 2 active fissures at a time. So you'll see we want to do our fissures. This is going to spit out chaos bolts, which we can cast ourselves, right? We can cast chaos bolts ourselves, but the fissures will cast a bunch as well. We want to throw down Spirit Plague to curse the enemies, and then Soul Feast to suck up the curse. Obviously, we have Transplant for maneuverability, and you'll see when you watch the gameplay, look for the red streaks of blood that shoot out from the packs. That's rip blood triggering from Chaos Bolts. You'll also see here a little fire symbol and a little, it almost looks like a green snowflake. That's our ignite overload and our damned overload for that part of the passive tree that gives us the witchfire, this area in here. So just some things to look for. I'm going to turn my mic off, enjoy the build. Yeah, so let's see what we got here. Ooh, let's do one of these because this gives us a nice little rush of waves of enemies at the end. So yeah, enjoy, guys. All right, guys, and there it is. So, if you were paying attention in the middle of that run, I purposefully drained my mana by spamming Chthonic Fissure. But if you noticed, I was able to regain it very, very quickly just by using Soul Feast and Chaos Bolt on cursed enemies. So yeah, as you can see, very effective, very good at quickly clearing out packs. If you played something similar or this exact build or plan on playing it, I'd love to hear how it went. Um, if you enjoyed the video, let me know. If you didn't, let me know. All feedback is good feedback. But thanks for hanging out and watching this one. Bye.